So, is the royal family really on the brink of reconciliation? Or, is this just another carefully crafted story designed to tug at our heartstrings? Over the next few minutes, we'll dig into the headlines, examine the sources, and try to separate fact from fiction in the ongoing saga of the House of Windsor. The Daily Mail plastered headlines across their site with a supposedly exclusive claim. King Charles is set to reunite with his grandchildren Archie and Lilibet after 3 years, following reconciliation talks with Prince Harry. Now, on the surface, this sounds like a warm, family-friendly story. The kind of narrative the press loves to spin whenever they want to sell the image of royal harmony. But scratch beneath the glossy headline, and the cracks appear almost immediately. Because here's the question that nobody in the mainstream press wants to touch. How did the details of a private meeting between a father and his son, held behind the closed doors of Clarence house, suddenly end up in the hands of the media? Who exactly is leaking, and why do they want the public to believe that Charles is at the center of reconciliation when Prince Harry has been nothing but discreet? Harry himself has proven time and again that he does not leak. He doesn't pick up the phone to the Sun or the Daily Mail to spill conversations. He has never run to royal sources to sell out his father or brother, even after enduring years of character assassination, lies, and smears. When Harry does speak, he does so openly, on his own terms, whether it be through his memoir, a speech, or a verified interview where his words cannot be twisted by middlemen. And so, when you see headlines claiming palace insiders know the details of Harry's private meeting with King Charles, details about a supposed thaw in relations, it becomes glaringly obvious that the information isn't coming from Harry. It's coming from within the palace walls. And if it's not Charles himself handing out these carefully constructed soundbites, then it's those close to him, the courtiers, the aides, the very machinery of the monarchy that has been feeding the press for decades. This pattern has existed for years. When Meghan was pregnant with Archie, palace aides were leaking like sieves. Details of where Meghan planned to give birth, what hospitals she would or wouldn't use, and even cruel commentary about her wanting privacy. All of it somehow managed to land in the press before Harry and Meghan had said a word. The same thing happened during Megxit. Before Harry and Meghan could even release their statement about stepping back, the tabloids had a field day with planted stories from so-called insiders. It's a rigged game, one that Harry has consistently refused to play. Yet here we are in 2025, and nothing has changed. The press is once again being spoon-fed inside information, painting Charles as the doting grandfather waiting with open arms while subtly shifting suspicion onto Harry, as though he would ever compromise his family's privacy for a headline. But here's the contradiction the press doesn't want to address. If the palace is so desperate to heal the rift, why broadcast these supposed private reconciliations in the tabloids? Real reconciliation happens in silence, not under the glare of a press camera. Real healing is not marketed to the public like a royal brand campaign. Harry has said openly that trust must be rebuilt, and trust cannot grow in an environment where every whisper, every private word, is treated as fodder for a headline. If Harry is being sincere about repairing things with his father, then whoever is leaking to the press is actively undermining that effort. And if Charles is not the one leaking, then why isn't he stepping in to stop his palace aides from feeding the media? Silence in this case is complicity. This leak also raises an uncomfortable truth. The monarchy has always needed Harry far more than Harry has ever needed the monarchy. The moment there's a lull in royal news, Harry's name is dragged back into the spotlight. And isn't it interesting how this story surfaces right as Charles faces questions about his health, his popularity, and his relevance? Suddenly, the palace seems eager to paint the picture of a family coming together, with Charles as the central figure of reconciliation, the wise patriarch welcoming his wayward son home. Yet when Harry actually needed support, when Meghan was pregnant, when they faced relentless racist abuse, when their mental health was crumbling, the palace was silent. No reconciliation, no grand gestures, no public defense. The hypocrisy is staggering. Let's also not forget the children at the center of this, Archie and Lilibet. For years, the British press has treated them like pawns in a game of royal chess. They mocked the couple for wanting privacy, they complained about not getting christening photos, and they speculated endlessly about whether Charles had even met his granddaughter. And now, conveniently, the tabloids want to frame Charles as the loving grandfather finally reuniting with the grandchildren he's supposedly been desperate to see. But who benefits from this storyline? Certainly not Harry and Meghan, who have guarded their children from media intrusion with iron resolve. The only person who benefits is Charles, who gets to burnish his image as a family man at a time when his monarchy is looking more outdated than ever. And here's the irony. The very act of leaking this story guarantees that Harry will retreat even further. If he cannot trust that a simple cup of tea with his father won't be splashed across the front pages, then what incentive does he have to keep trying? This is what the tabloids and palace insiders don't understand. Trust isn't rebuilt through PR campaigns. It isn't restored by pushing carefully staged narratives. It's built by actions, by respect, by the discipline to keep private things private. And Harry, more than anyone, knows the price of misplaced trust. He watched his mother, Princess Diana, hounded to her death by a press corps that thrived on leaks and manipulations. He has lived through decades of betrayal from those closest to him, who were willing to trade his pain for proximity to power. So when you read stories like this, don't be fooled into thinking Harry is the one behind it. He's not. Ask instead who stands to gain. Ask who benefits from making Charles look like the reconciler while subtly framing Harry as the one who must fall in line. Ask why in 2025 palace insiders still think it's acceptable to feed private family matters to the press like raw meat to a hungry dog. Because until those questions are answered, reconciliation will remain nothing more than a headline, a fantasy crafted for public consumption, while the real wounds remain unhealed. And that's the tragedy of it all. Harry has built a life outside the monarchy. He has his wife, his children, his work, his purpose. He doesn't need the institution to validate him. What he wants, what he has always wanted, is genuine family connection, free from the constant exploitation of press leaks. But until the palace, and maybe even Charles himself, chooses to shut down these insiders and protect private conversations, Harry will never truly get the peace he deserves. And every time the press pretends otherwise, remember this. The leak didn't come from Harry. It came from the very institution that has made a business out of betraying him. In closing, the ongoing story of King Charles and Prince Harry continues to captivate audiences around the world. As new developments unfold, only time will reveal the true nature of their relationship and the future of the monarchy.